together about your part, your role at GSA and all the things that you're involved in here. And maybe start by just telling us a bit about you and your job at GSA.
My job, yeah, great. Well, I'm Jaq Bessell, pronouns she, her, and I'm the programme leader for BA Acting.
So we had a chat not that long ago about the answer to the question, is a particular speech, I think it was the Puck speech from Midsummer Night's Dream, good or bad for an audition? And you had such a brilliantly interesting answer to that question. I thought this shouldn't be a secret. This shouldn't be something that we know that other people don't know. And we want to open these things up for people. So let's talk about that. What makes a good audition speech?
Well, that is the $64 question, isn't it? and we do get asked this a lot at Open Day. With regard to Puck, I think that that's quite an appealing character. It's quite a famous character, one of the sort of from one of Shakespeare's like greatest hit plays. But I think the reason why we hit on that one, it doesn't tick some of the really important boxes, and I think this is really all you need to know about choosing a monologue, wherever it's from, whether it's a classical monologue or a contemporary monologue. The main thing to think of is that you are trying to show a moment in time in that audition speech where your character is trying to affect another human being. And that's pretty much it, really.
That's like a really core idea to hold in mind. Yeah.
Yes, and unfortunately, a lot of monologues from whatever plays they're taken from are used by playwrights to tell stories. And that's quite a different thing from acting, because really most people, or in the case of Puck, spirits and other non-human entities, when they begin a story, they generally know how that story is going to end. And that makes it different from most human interactions that we think of as realistic, true to life. When we start conversations and we're actually trying to affect another person, trying to read the responses of our scene partner and be affected by those, we can't tell exactly how it's going to end.
Yeah.
So a speech that begins with, well, a funny thing happened to me on the way over here, you know, is not going to be like a really active speech.
Now, so straight away that's really challenging, because you're asked to do a monologue, and yet monologues are kind of not built for what you,
Some of them are and some of them aren't, and that's how you decide, really. As you're reading your speech, ask yourself, is it clear from the writing how the invisible person in my audition, the person I'm speaking to, is the most important person actually of all, is the one we never see. It's the person that you're addressing, that you're trying to affect. Is it clear in this speech how they are listening and receiving what I'm saying? And is it also clear that their response matters to me? Whether because I want them to agree with me, or because I need to change that response, or need to kind of modify and play exciting tactics to get what I want. Basically, the more that the responses of your listener or invisible scene partner are clear for you as a performer, the more interesting ways you have to go about getting what you want or trying to change them.
Yeah.
And that's a really key part of performing. It's also a really key part of the audition, which you can talk about in another in just a minute.
Yeah.
And so avoid stories or set pieces, and it's generally better to do a speech where your character is not addressing kind of the audience and only the audience, which is also quite sort of which narrows things down quite a bit. It's not that actors in famous plays from the past and present can't play a soliloquy to the audience in an active way, but some speeches, like "Oh, from Muse of Fire," from Henry V. It's played by a character called Chorus. So it's quite hard to do your research on, like, you know, what's my given circumstances, you know, what have I had for breakfast, you know, how old am I, you know. If you're called Chorus, it doesn't give you a lot to go on. So choosing a speech where it's really clear to you as you come into the speech, like what you want, how you want to change your scene partner or affect them, and how their responses might then affect what you do next. And that kind of narrows it down. If you can kind of find a speech that ticks those
some
boxes,
of those things,
you're onto a winner.
And then tell us a little bit about, okay, so you've taken that advice on board, you've been thinking about all your monologues that you might choose, you've made some choices, you're in the room now. How does that choice, you know, with all of those elements in it, you've got a good piece now that's got these ingredients in it, how will that serve you well when somebody like you or someone on an audition panel is going to work with you in those kind of, that little bit of time that you have? I suppose I'm thinking about the redirection that will be involved.
Absolutely. Well, it serves you in two ways. First of all, when you're performing it, we usually do our in-person auditions in groups of about 16. And so you've got 16, actually 15, because you're one of them. Yeah, 15 other new people in the room who are all kind of like, by this point, your best mate, because you've been doing loads of exciting workshops and kind of silly exercises with them for the morning part of our audition. But when you perform your speech, we've also got some of our brilliant student helpers who are there at the audition as well, and they quite like standing up and being your kind of target, being your scene partner. They won't respond, they won't speak anything for you, but they're a real live human for you to work with.
Yeah.
And that's so much easier than speaking
into an empty corner of a room.
Exactly.
Yeah, brilliant.
And it also helps with the nerves of performing, which can sometimes be a factor in an audition. Usually are, to be honest, if you're human. You know, these are sometimes
nerve-wracking experience.
Yeah, absolutely. But it can feel a lot better if you're not thinking about yourself. You're not thinking, did I do that bit right? Is it sounding right? And you're actually wholly engaged in trying to affect this real live breathing human being. So it serves you in that way. And in the redirect, absolutely crucial. If we're talking about tactics or actions that you might choose in pursuit of your goal. You know, there's loads of different ways. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. So you'll perform your speech for us, and then we will ask you to do something with it, to maybe change some of those either given circumstances or to change some of those tactics.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have any tactics, because you haven't got an active kind of nothing to play for, you're not trying to actually affect someone, it's very difficult to then do it any differently.
Yeah. And give me an example, and then we'll move on, because we've got another great question coming. But so somebody's done their speech, and if you were the person there and you want them to kind of change, show you something different, like literally, what do you say to them? Just to, again, reveal that it's not a mystery.
No, not
this is
at all.
how it's going to work.
Absolutely.
Someone's going to say, for example...
Well, the most common one, so I'll tell you what you're most likely to get is someone will do their speech and then they won't have asked one of our students to come up and stand with them. We give them the choice. So the first thing that will come to mind will usually be, okay, so we're just going to get one of our students to stand up in the space with you. Let's do it again. And this time, you've got to make this person stay in the room.
Great.
Using only your text,
and
we'll say, and that you can't guarantee that they will, and so this immediately either radically or subtly changes the tactics.
So it's super clear,
and then we can see from that whether the applicant is really listening to their new scene partner, whether they're adjusting what they're doing, or whether they are just actually going back to the beginning and doing exactly what they did before.
Yeah. Great.
which is what we don't want. We want to see what you do with a new ingredient in the room, whether you're flexible, whether you're playful,
Yeah.
whether you can think on your feet.
I guess I want you to talk to us about the approach, maybe that's a good word, that we take here at GSA when it comes to actor training. So we have our 3-year BA, we've got an MA, we've got an MFA for 2 years. So there's different ways, we've got foundation, we've got different ways of engaging in this pursuit. But I think, tell us about what we do and why we do it here. What choices do you make as a programme leader of a 3-year BA actor acting that, you know, to you are like really important elements in that kind of training and education?
Great. So hopefully this ties into how we go about selecting people. Actors are obviously storytellers, not as in a funny thing happened to me there, but they tell important stories that need to be told. Sometimes those are stories that come from people very unlike themselves. And so to come out of a 3-year programme and be ready to go into the industry, which is always, the industry sounds like it's one thing. It's not. It's a landscape or an environment, a work environment, which is always evolving. It's really exciting, but the last thing that it is predictable.
Yeah.
And so we need to prepare artists, really, who are equally flexible, nimble, curious and interesting and evolving. And so we start with the whole first year is dedicated to a series of practices, and we do practice involves repetition of these skills that you're learning, but practices that help us all as actors to learn how to listen, how to observe, and how to reflect, like on quite a deep level.
It's something to do with kind of stopping, doing the everyday, and doing listening and observing and reflecting differently.
There's an exercise that we do in viewpoints, a different technique altogether, physical technique. And it starts by standing in a space in one of our studios, and we all imagine that we're at a crossroads. We imagine that there's like a big grid, like a chessboard on the floor of the studio, and we're all standing at where 2 lines meet, 2 parallel lines, so at the corner of the little square on the chessboard. And so you first of all you pick a spot on the wall to focus and just kind of drop your shoulders and relax and just kind of like listen to your breathing in a kind of nice little sort of quite mindful little way, and try to just kind of like let go of any thoughts you have about how you got to class, you know, your commute or whatever happened out in the corridor, and you're just sort of there with the rest of your classmates. And they say, right, we're going to start moving in straight lines and right angle turns, and that's all we're going to do. Sounds really, really simple. But we're going to move at exactly the same time. How are we going to do this? Because we aren't all standing right next to each other.
Yeah.
We're all over the space on our own little invisible crossroads. And we do it by starting to notice what's at the periphery of your vision without turning your head around.
Yeah.
You start to open up, and in viewpoints they call that soft focus, but I would call that another way of kind of listening with the whole body, including your sight.
Yeah.
And noticing wherever your periphery falls, and it falls in different places for different people, you can take in a lot more than just what's right in front of your nose. And so we practice that kind of activity, and I'll put some music on, and every single time, don't ask me how, just like magic, everybody starts to move at the same time.
If I asked you to give 3 top tips to someone thinking about applying to drama school, what would they be?
Okay.
Only 3.
Only 3. First one, pick your piece. Make sure that your piece is actively trying to affect another person. We talked about that. The second one, I think, is to remind yourself that it's not a competition. It's not like competitive sports. So if you are lucky enough to get an in-person audition at the drama school of your choice, this is an opportunity for you to see what it's actually like to be a student there, and for the people on the panel to see what you would actually be like as a student. So be yourself. Don't try and second guess what it is that you think they need. Try to be yourself and do your work rather than trying to stand out or trying to kind of like win the audition. Just be yourself.
Because when you're here, you'll be being yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
it needs to be kind of authentic.
It does, because not just for the panel choosing you, but you need to be happy where you're going. And I think part of finding the right school is having the confidence to be yourself.
That's great.
So that the right school can find you as well as you find it. And you'll be setting yourself up for something that is less than joyful if you feel like you didn't.
You had to present a different version of yourself, or something so far away from yourself that isn't you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
I think that's why some of our open day visitors say it's really good to actually get to come to the school to kind of soak up the vibe in a kind of really relaxed sort of way. Of course, you know, that takes some narrowing down, because you can't visit every place you want to go to. But as far as you can, as far as you're able to, as you know, as practicalities allow it, if you can go and see that place and just like check in with that sort of instinct that says,
how does it feel?
This really feels like normal for me. That's listen to that.
I think that's really good advice, because, you know, I always do say, you know, amongst the staff here, we've all worked in other places as well, and I always say, look, it's not that places are better than other places, it's just that we are all a bit different, and it is, and so are all the applicants, and it's exactly what you've said. It's kind of, where do you want to be, not which place is better.
Oh God,
what's going to suit you best, and
definitely.
and I think to visit and meet people, and that's a lot of our students are at the open days, aren't they? So you get to have proper chats with people that are.
I can tell you what it's actually like.
Exactly. That was 2 top tips. Have you got a third?
A third one, I think, is avoid a trap that some fall into, which is panel watching. When you're doing some of the practical work in the space, sometimes we see people who kind of like seem to always mysteriously gravitate towards what they think is the front.
Right.
And are worrying about whether we've seen them doing the work, where actually we're more interested in the person who's usually facing the wrong way in the corner, in the back of the room, completely
doing the work,
absorbed in the work, and has forgotten about us.
Right. Because you are watching. We could take that for granted.
Yes, exactly. Know that we see you, and just relax and focus on working with the other people in the room, which is what we are watching. How you listen to the instructions from the tutor, how you work collaboratively with the other people who are auditioning at the same time. That's what I mean. It's not a competition.
Yeah.
It's an invitation.
Nice.
And just accept it wholeheartedly. And don't make it any more of a kind of trial
than it really needs to be.
It's an invitation to collaborate. Just remember that. And
fantastic.
Great.
Thank you so much.